The story begins in a small alley of a tiny neighborhood, where a dirt path filled with the smell of damp earth, broken roofs, and old doors formed a little world where Areeba lived with her mother Nusrat and her father Imran. Areeba was a decent, innocent, and quiet girl whose dream was different from everyone else's, not to become a hero, not to become rich, but to one day see that glow of pride on her parents' faces that she often felt in her dreams. Every day when her father returned home from labor, clothes soaked in sweat, and her mother burned her hands on the leaking LPG stove trying to cook 2 meals, Areeba would quietly sit in a corner, wondering if her dreams were bigger than her life. But this girl was made of another kind of clay. Her resolve was like iron, strong and refusing to bend. The first time she saw the white coat of a doctor in her science book at school, she decided then and there that one day she would become a doctor herself, but not just for her own dignity. She would do it for her mother's wrinkled hands and her father's work-worn feet. Every day after school, she would pick up her old books and study for 7 hours straight, even when her mother would plead, "Areeba Beta, your eyes will get ruined, please rest a little." But for Areeba, rest was a luxury she reserved for after she reached her goal. Other children at school would often humiliate her, mocking, "You'll become a doctor. First, get yourself a decent pair of slippers." But Areeba never answered back because she knew that the real answers were given through books, not words. When she broke her city's academic records in matric and won a scholarship to medical college, her mother spent the whole night praying with swollen eyes, "Oh Allah, please fulfill my daughter's dream." But when is life ever that simple? Medical college was not an easy journey. While other students had iPads, private hostels, and air-conditioned halls, Areeba would spend her days attending classes and her nights volunteering in hospitals, serving patients, taking duties, and holding the hands of the sick, whispering prayers. Her clothes were always soaked with sweat, but her face glowed with a light no one else had, a light named purpose. When her father suffered a heart attack one day, while Areeba was sitting her final year exams, she did not run out of the exam hall in panic because she knew this was the very moment to honor her father's dreams. She stayed up all night at the hospital by his side, then sat for her exam the next morning and passed. And on the day of her degree ceremony, when she was called up on stage as Doctor Areeba Imran, her mother wept and said, "Today my daughter has given me a reason to feel alive." With her first salary, Areeba bought a new stove for her mother and a soft cushioned chair for her father to finally sit and sip his tea in comfort. But the story did not end there. Areeba started thinking not just of her own family but the whole town. She opened a small clinic where she treated the poor free of cost. Slowly, Areeba's name spread everywhere, the doctor who lives not for money but for blessings. People would salute her and mothers would tell their daughters, "Become like Areeba." Even today, whenever someone feels tired and ready to give up, Areeba's story settles into their hearts like warm tea, an inspiration, a light, an example. Her story proved that to become a doctor, you don't just need books, you need a heart. Areeba did not conquer the whole world, but by bringing a smile to her parents' faces, she won everything. And if you can feel this story in your heart, then imagine, perhaps you too can become someone's Areeba. Dr. Areeba's name was no longer just the name of a girl, but had become a passion, an example. In every corner of the city, people remembered her with respect. Every parent prayed for a life like hers for their daughter. But for Areeba, success did not only mean becoming a doctor. Her real dream had just begun, to build a world where the treatment of the poor would not depend on money but on humanity. When she received a job offer from a big private hospital that offered a salary in the millions, she politely declined, saying, "I don't want money, I want prayers." She rented a small building in her old street, which she began to run under the name Umid Clinic. All day she treated poor and sick people free of charge in that clinic, and at night she held free health classes for schoolgirls. Every morning her father would sit on a chair outside the clinic greeting people, and her mother would make tea for everyone. This clinic was not just a clinic, it was the reality of a dream born from the souls of 3 people. Areeba received many awards, news channels interviewed her, but when she was asked, "Who is your role model?" she simply looked at her mother and father and said, "These 2 people are everything to me after God. Their tiredness and their faith are the biggest awards I could ever have." Areeba never wore makeup in her life, but on her face was that special glow that comes only from devotion and truthfulness. One day when her old school invited her as the chief guest, and she stood on the stage, thousands of girls sitting below looked at her and cried. Applause filled the hall, and one girl shouted, "Areeba Didi, I will become a doctor too." In that moment, the smile on her face was the kind that only appears when you light up your life for others. But life is a journey where tests never end. Areeba's father's health began to deteriorate again, and this time treatment was only possible at a foreign hospital. Everyone advised her, "Close the clinic, earn money, and take your father." But Areeba decided she would not close the clinic. She organized fundraisers, she cried before people, she made videos, and she said only one thing to everyone: "I am a doctor, I have wiped my mother's tears. Now it is my turn to save my father's breath." Her appeal went viral on social media and many people supported her. When her father was treated and returned healthy, for the first time he cried and said, "Daughter, you have given me another life." And at that moment, Areeba was not just a doctor, she was a prayer, a blessing for her father. Areeba's name had now reached the national level. She was given the President's Award, but when the medal was placed around her neck on stage, she put it around her mother's neck and said, "The one who gave me birth is the same one who gave me patience and passion." Areeba's story was never written in a book, but it was written in every heart that had ever been tired, that had ever fallen down but wanted to rise again. Her story proved that daughters are not weak. They are the light of every dark night where parents are drenched in prayers. Even today, Areeba sits in her clinic, drinks tea with her father, eats bread made by her mother's hands, and holds every new patient's hand and says, "I am here, don't worry." Outside her clinic is writ, "Here no one asks for money, only prayers are accepted." Areeba did not fulfill her dream just by becoming a doctor, but she showed everyone that real success happens when you make your parents hold their heads high with pride. After hearing her story, every boy and girl thinks only one thing: I can become like Areeba too. I can also make my parents' names shine.